4 or 5 years ago, Condoleezza Rice said something that stuck with me at the time. In fact, I think I was over at CNN and I did a show about this. Really bothers me. She talked about how the world was going through birth pangs. Birth pangs. And I remember saying, wow, that's odd. I mean, biblical, but that's odd. Why birth pangs? Well, birth pangs imply something. And I mean, if you've ever had a baby, I haven't, but I've watched my wife come out of her skin having one. It implies that something is coming. And birth pangs, they start small, and then they get farther and farther apart, and they're farther apart, and then they get closer and closer together, and they get stronger and stronger. And in the end, there's an event, an arrival of something. The event. What is the event? What is it we're giving birth to? And what is the date of birth? These will be filled out. This one, I think, is going to be filled out this week on this program. But here's your birth pangs. Maybe TARP. We waited a while. These are coming. These are coming. Here's the first birth pang that I think we're about to see. Violence. Pressure from below. Why do you think that the left spent so much time and energy trying to paint the Tea Parties as violent? We showed you the videos where NBC would be shaking in fear over the possible coming violence from the Tea Party. The far left needs the violence. This is the strategy of the radical leftists. They create chaos. They put pressure from below. And then they have the government. They're all infiltrated here in the government. Pressure down below. And it causes them, the government, who they're in league with, can swoop in and fix the problem to save you. So, why does the left need this violence? Well, listen to a clip from a Democratic pollster, Mark Penn, happened just the other day, and yet no one pays attention to it. How can the left win the country? Watch.
Cabinets don't really sell things. The president himself has to reconnect with the people. Remember, President Clinton reconnected through Oklahoma, right? And the president right now, he seems removed. And it wasn't until that speech that he clicked with the American public. Obama needs a similar kind
You think words will work for... Obama needs a similar kind of event. Oh, like Oklahoma City. If only Barack Obama could have the opportunity to speak to America after another Oklahoma City type event, then he'll politically be in good shape. Wow. Now, according to Drummond Pike, the founder of Tides, who, Drummond, I hope you watch this week because, it's all coming undone this week. I will be the guy who causes the next Oklahoma City. This is in a letter, an appeal to advertisers of Fox, dear Fox advertisers, read this part of it. No one, left, right, center, wants to see another Oklahoma City. The next assassin may succeed. If so, there will be blood on many hands. They are setting up another Oklahoma City. They are claiming that one is coming, and they've already marked the one who caused it. Okay, now here's the next pain. Here's this one. This one, I fear, is coming from the left. The second one, the radicals reveal themselves. They'll become unafraid. I told you this, and I believe I set this up with something along the lines of, look out, because we'll be in trouble when the mask starts to come off. I told you about a year ago that as it would come unraveled, the radicals would start revealing themselves. Watch. I think these people are close. I think they're dying to tell us what the real agenda is. I think they're close to taking the mask off. Okay, got it? Newsweek jumped a gun on this sentiment when they declared, we're all socialists now. Most people just dismiss this as a misread of the American people. I think it was the arrogance of the elitist media myself. That's why Newsweek, sold for $1. But we are seeing now the masks come off more and more every day. Here is a story that I haven't seen anybody comment on. MSNBC actually suspended Keith Olbermann because he donated money to the Democratic candidates without telling his boss first. Oh, they must have been upset. I mean, somebody could have found out which political side of the spectrum he was on. I didn't see that one coming. Oh, yeah, he's just like the late, great Tim Russert. You just can't tell with Keith Olbermann. What it stopped people from talking about over at NBC was Larry O'Donnell. I know. It's a question not asked very often. What did Larry O'Donnell say? He's Olbermann's co-worker, fellow news anchor, the new hot lover boy over there. He said on Friday he's not a liberal. No, no, no. I mean, he can play it straight as an arrow on the air. What is he? He's not a liberal. This is what he said.
I, Glenn, unlike you, I am not a progressive. I am not a liberal who's so afraid of the word that I had to change my name to progressive.
I'm not either.
Liberals amuse me. I am a socialist. I live to the extreme left. The extreme left of you mere liberals.
There you go. I'm sorry, can we play it again? Because you might have missed it. It was pretty subtle. Did you hear what he said? Listen to his political leaning.
Liberals amuse me. I am a socialist.
But didn't we just hear that there are no socialists? And I'm getting tired of saying that's a socialist mop. Wait a minute. Starting to unmask themselves. He's to the far, far left. He's going after progressives. They're not left enough. But listen to why he is going after progressives. Listen to this.
Liberals are 20% of the electorate. Conservatives are 41% of the
Rare
electorate.
honesty.
Okay? So I don't pretend that my views, which would ban all guns in America, make Medicare available to all in America, have any chance of happening in the federal government. The only way you have a Chairman Barney Frank, there's only one way. That's by electing blue dogs.
Okay.
It's the only way
Got
you
it?
have a speaker.
Stop. Listen to this. This is what he's saying. I'm a socialist, and there's no way anything I believe is going to happen. That's why you elect blue dogs, and you hide behind them. And finally is the last birth pang. What are we giving birth to? The last one is a money crisis. I have been warning you that we are on the same path to repeat the same exact mistakes as the Weimar Republic. We've hit the top of our debt standard. Nobody's going to want to loan to us. And so what happens? When we can't fund it through loans, or we can't afford the interest, we'll just start printing more money, and we're printing it like there's no tomorrow. Well, this is what leads to things like bread in a wheelbarrow. Here's where the rest of the world is starting to line up and blame us, and that is what we've done to our dollar. You got it? You got it? This I said under George W. Bush. The bought and paid for critics of mine will always respond, there he goes talking about Hitler again, and completely missing the point, which is this. Germany financially collapsed. That's kind of a historic fact, and it's kind of important not to glaze over that, isn't it? How did it collapse? Why did it collapse? What did they do? We should probably know the answer to that. Well, here it is. They monetized their debt. Did we learn our lesson from that? Well, I'll let Tim Geithner and Ben Bernanke, under oath, let you know. Next. When I said on this program that we would monetize the debt, all of the experts said Len Becks completely insane. Tim Geithner promised it during an interview. Never do it. Ben Bernanke promised it under oath that they would never monetize the debt.
Will the Federal Reserve monetize this debt?
The Federal Reserve will not monetize the debt.
Why is this not the dreaded concept of monetizing the debt, which so many economists warn against?
There's no risk of that in the United States because, again, we have a strong independent central bank.
A man's word is his bond. Glenn Beck is off his rocker. Don't listen to him. Oh, wait, what's that? Oh, it's an announcement from the Fed last week that they are monetizing the debt. Oh, and they're reinvesting about $250 billion to $300 billion more on top of the $600 billion proposed of monetizing of our debt. So it's nearly $1 trillion, but as Tim Geithner said, there's no chance of that happening in America. I also said that food inflation was coming. This is from April 2008. Listen. It's not that America is going to run out of food, because we're not. It's that food is going to get a lot more expensive, so now is the time to stock up, before the prices rise even more. Okay, once again, mocked. I can't tell you when things are going to happen. I have no idea. I can't tell you. I don't know even what we're giving birth to, although I have a feeling it's a new world order. I don't know when the birth date is. But here's what's coming. Remember when we were explaining the health care bill scam? And I showed you in one episode a magic trick. Here is that episode. Look over here. The hand that is holding the gold points to the other hand. They need to distract us long enough. Use that misdirection. Because see, once they pull up and you turn on the lights and you're like, wow, that was amazing with that coin. Then something was behind me. It was healthcare. I wanted to show you at the time how important it is to watch the other hand. Last week on the radio show, we got lots of calls and emails from people saying, hey, guys, they just took down CCX, the climate exchange in Chicago. We just went out of business. Really? Remember this exchange between the CCX founder and a Bloomberg reporter?
How big, ultimately, do you think this market could be?
I think it's a $10 trillion a year market.
Say that again?
$10 trillion a year.
Okay. So a 912 group shined the light on this CCX, and we started talking about it, and the CCX is now phasing out of the carbon credit trading exchange, which will eventually be replaced with an offset registry program. $10 trillion business, just gone. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings, right? Yeah. Backup plan. Watch the other hand. What is this hand doing? Wait for it. Wait for it. Say it with me. George Soros. A UN panel, including billionaire George Soros and Larry Summers, the director of Obama's National Economic Council, said selling carbon emission permits would generate $38 billion and a financial transactions tax an additional $27 billion. But that's just one part of the possible backup plan. Oh, there is so much going on. We've been following it. What happened at the UN in Geneva this weekend? And which one of Soros and Barack Obama's buddies were there? Union members, you should pay attention. Next. On Friday, there was a get-together in Geneva for the United Nations Human Rights Council, including 47 nations like China, Cuba, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. They wanted to look into the human rights violations of us. Whew. I don't know how we stand up to the human rights giants like China, where they pay their people 50 cents a day, or Iran, where they bury women up to their necks to stone them to death for suspected adultery. What are the allegations? Well, Cuba and Iran called on Washington to close Guantanamo prison and investigate alleged torture by U.S. troops. I think we have. By the way, special hello to SEAL Team 10. Love you guys. Anyway, Gitmo, I think they're serving ice cream now, and they're probably watching me now on their big screen TVs. Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim nation, told the U.S. it needs a better job of promoting religious tolerance. Do we now? Some of the other allegations and input, believe it or not, come from Americans themselves. Now, who do you think might have been over there this Friday? Well, a network of U.S. non-governmental organizations, they're over there. One of these groups is the U.S. Human Rights Network. It's made up of activist organizations whose goal it is to, quote, get full compliance with universal human rights standards in the U.S. It will require the development of a broad-based democratic movement that is dedicated to the long-term goal of transforming the U.S. political culture, transforming America. Ha! Where have I heard that before? And who's funding the effort? Well, the Human Rights Fund is funded by a group of donors and philanthropies, including George Soros's Open Society Institute over in Geneva, were you, Georgie? Now pay close attention here, because Soros also gave $100 million to the Human Rights Watch, not to be confused with the Human Rights Fund. Sometimes they get confusing like that, almost intentionally. Entirely separate group. Human Rights Watch also submitted its opinions to the UN. You know who sits on the board of Human Rights Watch? Bernadine Dohrn. Mrs. Bill Ayers, you know, the bombers, the terrorist from the 70s. She's the vice chair of the Children's Rights Division. Do you remember her?
You know, think that the real terrorist is the American government. State terrorism unleashed against the world.
Yeah. That's some audio you really need to see. Well, George Soros, working against the interests of America in every possible conceivable way. Who else has sent their ideas to Geneva? Who else but the AFL-CIO and SEIU? More on tomorrow's episode.